The phone's glow painted the room in cold blue, the kind that belongs to nightmares. Mia sat frozen on her bed, pulse hammering, eyes darting between hundreds of unread messages. Her private photos, the ones she swore were safe, were now everywhere. Every buzz of her phone was another knife twisting deeper. Her reflection on the dark screen trembled as the truth formed. Only one person had those photos. Only Lila, her roommate, her best friend. The world outside her dorm kept spinning, but inside, time broke. What happens when the person you trust most steals what you can't ever get back? What happens when silence becomes your only defense? And what happens when revenge finds its own audience? By morning, whispers replaced silence. Every corner of the cafeteria buzzed with half-truths and pity disguised as curiosity. Mia moved through the noise like a ghost, her tray untouched. Eyes followed her. Screens turned away too late. Somewhere at the back, Lila smiled faintly. The kind of smile that feeds off chaos. The campus that once felt safe now felt like a cage built from glass and screenshots. Back in her dorm, Mia scrolled through her own social media. Comments blurred into noise, every word cutting differently. She deleted post after post, not to hide but to reclaim control. Her eyes caught Lila's newest upload. A smiling selfie captioned, "Be careful who you trust." It felt like a knife disguised as poetry. That night, Evan found her outside the library steps, hugging her knees, phone beside her. He didn't speak, just sat beside her, silent solidarity under the orange glow of the street lamp. Sometimes, the right silence says everything. As dawn touched the campus, Mia stood by the window watching the sun crawl over the dorm rooftops. The night hadn't taken her peace. It had revealed who never deserved it. Somewhere behind another locked door, Lila edited her next video. Fame has a price, and Mia was done paying it. The morning after, the world didn't feel the same. Mia's name had turned into a hashtag, whispered under breath and typed behind screen. She moved through campus hallways like walking through smoke. Everyone saw her, but no one looked her in the eye. Every whisper sounded like her name. Every silence felt heavier than the last. In the corner of the courtyard, Lila was surrounded by friends, pretending concern while her camera lens glinted in the sunlight like a secret smirk. Inside the lecture hall, whispers buzzed, louder than the professor's voice. Mia sat in the back row trying to disappear, but the glow of screens betrayed her. Some pretending to take notes, others scrolling through group chats that still carried her shame. Across the room, Lila raised her hand to answer a question, perfectly composed, playing the part of the ideal student. Mia looked at her and saw not confidence, but performance, a mask painted with stolen validation. In the cafeteria, Mia sat alone. Fork untouched, tray cold. She caught pieces of conversations like shards. "Did you see it?" She should have been more careful. Every word pressed deeper into her chest. Then, like venom, Lila appeared beside her table, smiling sweetly. "You okay?" she asked, loud enough for others to hear. Mia didn't reply. Lila's sympathy was a performance, the kind that thrives on an audience, and everyone was watching. That night, Mia couldn't sleep. Every sound outside her window, laughter, phones buzzing, reminded her of everything she lost. She opened her laptop, scrolling through old photos of her and Lila before it all fell apart. The smiles looked real back then. Maybe they were. But the screen blurred as tears welled, and she shut it. She needed to stop reliving what had already destroyed her. The next morning, posters appeared on bulletin boards, glossy flyers for campus influencers, the rise of digital voices, featuring Lila's smiling face front and center. Mia stared at one near the library entrance. Her name wasn't there, but her pain was. Somewhere deep inside, something shifted. The beginning of a quiet resolve. Sometimes you don't fight back with noise. You wait, and you let truth sharpen itself in silence. Late evening in the computer lab, The hum of processors filled the silence. Evan waited for a file to finish rendering when a folder name caught his eye. Mia Carter Final. He frowned. Mia's submission should be on Lila's drive. Curiosity turned to disbelief as he opened it and saw timestamps, drafts, and metadata that matched Maya's project exactly. Proof. Every stolen frame, every copied script line. The betrayal glowed in pixel light. Evan pulled a flash drive from his pocket, copying the files quickly before footsteps echoed in the hallway. He knew Lila would return soon. His pulse sensed with the loading bar crawling across the screen. Every second a risk, every beep a confession in code. The door creaked open. Lila's voice floated in mid-sentence from the hallway. Evan yanked the drive free, shutting the screen just in time. She entered, surprised to see. "Working late?" she asked, smiling with too much confidence. "Always," he said, pocketing the evidence. Their eyes met for one brief second that said everything neither dared to admit. Minutes later, outside beneath flickering streetlights, Evan scrolled through the copied files on his laptop. The metadata confirmed what Mia had feared. Same creation date, same render logs. He took screenshots and zipped the folder, labeling it proof. A gust of wind scattered dry leaves across the pavement, carrying away the last doubt. The next morning, Mia found an envelope slid under her dorm door. Inside, a flash drive and a note. "You were right. It's yours." She stared at the small device, a mix of fear and relief flooding her chest. Proof of betrayal now rested in her hands, but so did a decision. Expose Lila, or let silence protect peace. Mia stormed into the dorm, the campus wind still clinging to her jacket. Lila sat at her desk, editing on her laptop, headphones hanging loose. The glowing screen showed the opening frame of a film Mia had shot months ago, her own title sequence, her own dialogue, her own light. Only the name had changed. Lila's name. For a heartbeat, silence froze between them. Then Mia's voice broke it, shaking but sharp. "You stole it." Lila's fingers hovered over the keyboard. "I just borrowed it. You weren't going to finish it anyway." Her voice trembled beneath the armor of arrogance. Mia stepped closer, the distance between them shrinking like a fuse burning short. Borrowed. The word felt like acid. All those nights filming, rewriting, stitching emotion into frames, now living under someone else's name. Mia backed away, realizing proof mattered more than anger. She turned without another word and left the dorm, heart racing. Downstairs, she texted Evan. "She has my project," Evan replied instantly. He still had a backup copy from their joint editing session. That file would speak louder than anything Lila could deny. Back in the computer lab, Evan loaded both files side by side. Maya's original cut and Lila's submission. Identical frames, identical music, even the same watermark Lila had forgotten to crop. The truth glowed on screen. Undeniable. Mia's breath steadied. For the first time since the scandal began, the power shifted back into her hands. Later that night, Mia returned to the dorm. Lila was pacing, guilt already cracking her confidence. "You wouldn't dare tell anyone," she hissed. Mia looked at her, not angry anymore, just calm. "It's not about daring," she said softly. "It's about telling the truth." She walked past, leaving Lila in the glow of her own deceit. The next morning, the air on campus carried a strange quiet. Everyone had seen the announcement. Dean Walters had opened an investigation into suspected academic misconduct. Mia walked through the courtyard with Evan beside her, every step measured. She wasn't hiding anymore. The film that carried her heart, her sleepless nights, her name, would finally speak for itself. In the dean's office, the hum of the air conditioner filled the silence between sentences. Lila sat across from Dean Walters, hands clasped too tightly, pretending confidence. He clicked play on a video file. Mia's short film, the original version. Her name appeared in the opening credits, then another file. The same footage, Same dialogue, only the credits read, directed by Lila James. There were no words after that. Just the heavy, echoing sound of truth, unmasking itself. Mia sat outside the office, hands gripping her knees. Every tick of the hallway clock sounded like a verdict. When the door opened, Lila stepped out, pale and speechless. Dean Walters followed, his expression unreadable, but firm. "Mia, may I see you for a moment?" he said. Her heart pounded, not from fear anymore, but from relief that the fight was finally fair. Inside, the dean spoke quietly. "Your work stands on its own, Mia. I'm sorry this happened. But you did the right thing coming forward." She nodded, eyes watering but steady. For the first time, her voice didn't shake when she replied, "I just wanted it to be mine again." Outside, Evan waited, with 2 coffees, and a smile that said everything she needed to hear. By afternoon, the official statement spread across campus. Lila James suspended pending academic review. In every classroom, whispers shifted. No longer about Mia, but about the truth she refused to bury. That evening, as she passed the film lab, she saw her project's title on the big screen, her real name beneath it. Her story reclaimed. The news spread faster than rumor ever could. By noon, everyone on campus knew that Lila's prized documentary had been pulled from the showcase. What surprised them wasn't her suspension. It was how quiet Mia stayed. No celebration, no speeches. She just walked to class, shoulders light for the first time in months, letting the silence speak for her. Inside the lecture hall, the professor paused when Mia entered. A quiet nod replaced the awkward stares that used to follow her. Evan sat beside her, sliding over a notebook filled with doodles and one line scrawled in pencil. "You did it." Mia smiled. Small, real, free. Down the hallway, Lila walked alone. Posters that once bore her smiling face had been torn down, leaving tape outlines on the walls. She passed by the computer lab window and caught her own reflection. Tired, unfamiliar. Fame had vanished, but guilt lingered like static in her chest. For the first time, she saw what she'd become. Later, Dean Walters met Mia outside the administration wing. "Integrity's louder than attention," he said, handing her a printed certificate for academic honesty. She laughed softly. Not for the paper, but for the peace it symbolized. In the distance, students crossed paths beneath the autumn trees, unaware that something fragile had been restored. That evening, the campus film club screened Maya's project again, this time officially, her name bold on every frame. Applause filled the dark room, but Mia didn't watch the crowd. She watched the screen. Every scene reminded her that creation is trust, and trust, once broken, can still be rebuilt, frame by frame. A week later, the campus felt different. Lighter, quieter. Maya sat under the oak by the media building, notebook open, sunlight freckling its pages. For months, she'd been defined by someone else's lie. Now, she wrote her own truth in slow, deliberate lines. The sound of passing bikes, distant chatter, and a single leaf falling beside her felt like a new beginning disguised as an ordinary afternoon. Inside the media lab, Evan replayed her film one last time before submission to the national competition. "It deserves to be seen," he said, glancing back at her. Mia didn't argue. She just nodded. The frames flickered across his glasses, the same images that had once been stolen, now restored to their rightful glow. Meanwhile, Lila packed her belongings in silence. Her posters were gone, her name removed from the project showcase list. For the first time, she faced a screen without an audience. She typed an apology she would never send, then closed the lid of her laptop, the click echoing like an ending she finally accepted. At the student assembly, Dean Walters spoke about integrity, about how creation defines character. Mia stood among the crowd, anonymous but proud. The applause that followed wasn't for her alone. It was for the lesson she forced the campus to remember. Truth might take time, but it never loses its light. That night, Mia uploaded a new file. Her next project, a blank timeline waiting to be filled. She smiled at the empty screen, knowing it no longer scared her. Outside, the campus lights shimmered like stars caught between windows. Every story begins again somewhere, and hers was already rolling. Fade out.